Very few people can master the art of high-level real-time strategy play, and the balance of managing your base, economy and production with the need to micro your forces to maximise your damage and limit your losses. Well, Annihilate the Spans has taken its gameplay in a different direction. Good day to you my friends, I'm Kenator and welcome to my honest review of Annihilate the Spans. And also a thanks to the devs for sending over this review key. The single player RTS differs from most in that you don't directly control your fleet of ships. Your job is to farm or generate the material and energy to build up the base, choose your ships to be produced from each shipyard, which continually auto-produce by the way, and make sure that your fleet makeup counters whatever it is that you're facing, in a rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock kind of situation, if you know what I mean. As for indirect control, there is a waypoint system to tell the ships where to go instead of just defaulting to the nearest enemy. This system will let you set circular areas as a catch-all instead of individually setting rally points, like a traditional RTS. This has the added benefit of not only saving you time, but allowing it to catch any new shipyards placed in its area automatically. Fights in this game become a kind of space tug of war as your ships eventually clash with the enemy and form a battlefront that is continually resupplied by both sides. And should you have the right combination of ships and the numbers to do so, you will start to push back the battle line to whatever base is building that enemy fleet. Simple in its idea, but not so simple in practice, with many different units, strengths and weaknesses to learn. To start with, you have a campaign mode that will send you to a short initial campaign, which some of you may have seen a version of in its demo earlier this year, which will then lead you onto a larger second campaign, and with 3 more to be unlocked during its early access development. And as you progress through each mission, you'll be unlocking a little bit of new tech for that faction as you go. During my playthrough, balancing was still ongoing, and unfortunately it's something that I think will still need to be tweaked for some time after launch, as more people start sending their feedback. But for me personally, I found the balance to wildly fluctuate. You could have a string of missions that played well, maybe even have a challenging moment or two, to then be hit with a massive upswing in difficulty that just felt punishing for no reason. But when the game does get it right, it's so much fun. Massing up huge fleets, watching a battle unfold, finding a gap in the enemy's production timings to send out a fleet to flank from one side. It's just really satisfying. However, if you do like a challenge, or just like getting your balls crushed into a black hole blender, well, then the game has a hard mode, aptly named Trauma. This should give the more expert players a serious run for their money. The good news is though, balancing issues are generally quite solvable with time, so I'm not too worried about this specifically, especially since the devs are actively listening to feedback on the Discord. On the story side of the campaign, I can't say I was impressed. In my opinion, it was okay for the most part, but the way some of these characters acted is very childish and unbelievable, either through bad writing or just the need to start a fight for each mission. After my 5th or 6th facepalm, I very quickly tuned out of just trying to follow any of the motivations for these characters. And speaking of the characters, something to note here as it stands out like a sore thumb against the rest of the UI, that unfortunately looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint, is the very AI generated looking character portraits. A quick perusal of the Steam page will reveal that they are indeed AI generated and are intended as a placeholder until they have the funds to hire an artist. Now, I'm not a fan of this or the excuse, but you can make up your own mind on how or if this affects your purchase decision. The simple UI, however, does work well during the battles, as it's clean and undistracting, and the only change I would personally make here is giving the different icons more differentiation between them. There's also still space to maybe show a few more unit stats, which could be an improvement than having to open the game's internal wiki. Besides the campaigns, the game has another few ways of challenging yourself or to practice your playstyles. Firstly, there's the skirmish mode. This has 11 maps at the time of writing and starts with 1v1 maps and works all the way up to a 9-player King of the Hill style map. This mode also contains the early start of the third faction in the game, but is massively unfinished with only 2 ship sizes compared to the standard 5 or 6 the other 2 factions use, and we can probably expect this to change as they are developed in the future, or this third team may be cut for launch. You also have side missions which are easily missed at the bottom of the campaign menu. Currently there is only one mission available though. But the real staying power of this game in the long run, however, will be its map maker. You have access to, at least from what I can see, everything the devs have used to put together all the missions in the game. That includes all the enemy types, dialogue options, triggers, scenery, the works. And you can easily share your map files with your friends or other players in the community, or get new missions from other creators. Sadly, I didn't have time to test this feature specifically, but given enough time, you could end up with a whole player-created campaign, which would definitely raise the value you get from this game. Before we jump onto value though, I will say this game ran pretty well for me at 60 FPS most of the time, dipping down to a lowest of 45 on my 6800 XT during massive fights. But even then, it still felt smooth. Unfortunately, there are no graphics settings to adjust to give you any wiggle room for lower end systems. If you are worried about your system performance, there is a medium-sized battle showcase that you can load straight from the main menu. If it sucks there, then you can refund within the time window, no problems. So props to the devs for adding this kind of quick benchmark. I also did not experience any crashes, and I only encountered one visual bug which was isolated to a single level, and that should be fixed for launch. But now we have to talk about the price, and for me, $30 is a bit on the high side for me to outright recommend this game, especially since it's early access. If the game was complete, then maybe, but the game has clearly been made on a budget, and there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But at that price range, it compares to other games that hit a much higher quality bar and also contain more content. Ultimately though, it's up to you. If you're a big fan of RTS with big battles like Beyond All Reason, then it's probably a no-brainer to pick up. I know at least a few people I will directly be recommending this to, but only because I know that they are the certain niche audience that this game targets. There is a lot of room for improvement, but that's only going to happen if people dive in and give it a go, and hopefully give the devs the funds they need to really raise the bar for Annihilate the Spans. Do let me know if you're picking this one up, or your thoughts on it so far in the comments below. Give the like button a little tickle on the way out, and subscribe for more content from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Kenator, out.